It's time to rendezvous with cassidoo. Boo! Hello, everybody, and happy Wednesday? Yeah, it's Wednesday. Welcome to Rendezvous with Cassidoo. It's my weekly newsletter where I talk about stuff you're up to, stuff I'm up to, links, practice coding, a joke, and more. And this is that newsletter in video form. What's up? I have had a very busy week, but it's been exciting. We launched the GitHub Copilot app at work this week, which has been a whole lot of work, a bunch of other stuff, but you know what? We should just get into the newsletter. Okay, so the quote this week: innovation comes out of great human ingenuity and very personal passions, from Megan Smith. If you don't know Megan Smith, she was the CTO of the United States and a very, very cool person overall. And I thought that this was a really great quote because a lot of times we're like, innovation will come from just like really big brains, but really it's people who care about things and the human ingenuity, not necessarily robot overlords. Once again, I hope you had a great week. Mine was busy, but it was good. And I went to a keyboard convention, which I'll talk about. For the web links of the week, first of all is a front-end developer's guide to the hybrid mobile app development landscape. As someone who does not make native development apps, I thought this was particularly good because I've made apps before that are that hybrid app way of using React Native. There's different other frameworks for that too, and this was a really good guide to see that broken down. For the next link, this one was more like opinion-y rather than web oriented, but I still believe it. If you're asking for human attention, demonstrate human effort. It reminds me of the quote, like, if you can't be bothered to write something, why should I be bothered to read it? As you are working on things, you have to make human decisions and make that human effort for other people to benefit from it. That's the summary of that, and I thought that was a very good article. Next one, when React parent components need to know their children, it's all about lifting state, how you can pass variables to parents. So a lot of times in React, state goes down. I'll leave it at that. It tends to go down, and to bubble it up can be challenging, and there's ways to do it with context. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but this was a good article and also talked about like ways to break the rules and do it that way. And then finally, no one clicks your share buttons. It was a very data-oriented way to talk about how if you have like a share to Blue Sky, share to Twitter, share to Mastodon, share to Reddit, whatever, people don't really click those. They usually just copy the URL. And that's also a UX decision that you have to make as well then too, because is your URL copyable? A lot of times if there's big tracking links and things like that, you have to think about what is that experience of copying that URL. For something that interested me this week, I briefly mentioned it before, I went to KeyCon, which is an annual keyboard convention, and it is so fun. It was finally in Chicago this year. They rotate locations, and because I'm in Chicago, I was very excited to attend. I blogged about the experience. I ended up giving a talk about writer decks, which are digital typewriters, basically. I ended up buying a keyboard stand. I don't know if you could see it back there. Yeah. Anyway, it was very, very exciting, and I blogged about that experience. Now for this week's sponsor. Your computer should be a tool that gets out of your way. Workbench is Calligra's Linux-based operating system for people who build things. It's an environment designed for deep focus without notifications or bloat. It ships on their C100 developer terminal, and it's free to download. Download Workbench today. Ad. And now for the interview question of the week. Last week I had you place cards in a mini solitaire game. Y'all did a great job. This week's question: given an input positive integer n, so just 1 to whatever, return the maximum number of distinct positive integers that sum to n. And so, for example, if you have 5, 2 and 3 can add to 5, 1 and 4 can add to 5, so there are 2 possibilities for distinct positive integers. And same if for that example number 8, 1 and 2 and 5 add to 8. You could do 4 and 4, but those are not distinct. And so the different separate numbers that can add up to whatever that number could be. If you'd like to answer this question, you can drop it in the YouTube comments, respond to the email, or submit your responses on social media. As long as I get it, I'll credit you in the newsletter. And finally, for some cool things around the internet. First of all, avian visitors, such a cool project. Check it out. This person made an e-ink framed thing where as birds pass by their house and they have like microphones and stuff to identify those birds, it makes a piece of art of all the birds that have visited their house that day. And it's so cool. I thought that was awesome. The next link is a video. Buttons are broken, so I tried reinventing them. It ends up being like an ad for their Kickstarter, but I thought it was very interesting as someone interested in mechanical keyboards and buttons as a button pusher in my day job. This person made a magnetic button, and it was really interesting just that design process. Fully over-engineered and unnecessary, but it also looked like a satisfying button, and I want to click it. The next link, searchable Attenborough. David Attenborough, the guy who does all of those, like, look at the seal, or I should not do an impression of all of the different animals in nature documentaries and stuff. Someone made a searchable directory to see all of the different animals and documentaries that he spoke over, and I thought that was pretty cool. And then finally, the title of this article is very apt. How the heck do traffic lights work? It's an article on how traffic lights work, and it was pretty interesting. There's a lot of history there. And finally, for the joke, what do you get if you put a duck in a cement mixer? Quacks in the pavement! Ah, 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 ah. All right, everybody, I hope you have a wonderful week. Be safe, make good choices, and do your laundry. You know you need to, whether you need to fold it or just actually put it in. It's the never-ending chore. I hope AI can solve that someday. Okay, bye!